Life is riddled with many inevitabilities, things like conflict. But life is also layered with solutions to the myriad of social challenges that we face. While flipping the pages of today's magazine, mediation and resolution strategies unfurl. Also, solutions to the impact of crime on the vulnerable. We've prepared a collection of information to make your day and life much better. So, welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry.
I encourage all Jamaicans to be a part of the My Tree Legacy promotion. Planting trees is important and critical to our survival. It builds resilience. It provides us with air, water, and food. Go out today, plant a tree, renew your environment.
Register your alma mater for the Forestry Department's My Tree Legacy promotion and be a part of the preservation of Jamaica land we love. Let us highlight your contribution to the My Tree Legacy promotion by submitting videos or pictures of you leaving your mark. Every tree counts. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, January 26. Agriculture Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says government is considering the temporary suspension of the import and additional stamp duties on leg quarters. It's part of mitigation measures being discussed to stave off increases in the price of poultry and related products. In Parliament Tuesday, Mr. Charles revealed that locally produced chicken prices have increased by 17% in the past year. The leading local supplier of poultry products has announced a 10% increase in their prices to take effect by month end. Increasing shipping costs have been identified for the continued hike in production costs and poultry on the island. Minister Charles Jr. says the temporary suspension in duties will allow Jamaicans to purchase the leg quarters at $160 instead of the current $360 per pound price tag.
Well, let me emphasize, Minister Clark, that this would be a temporary measure until local market recalibrates to normal levels where supply matches demand, as was successfully done before when the country faced a similar crisis.
In the meantime, the Agriculture Minister says affordable market options for inputs such as baby chicks and fertile eggs are being sought. Competition will be ramped up in the sector by incentivizing investment in local processing facilities. The ministry is also executing a robust program to promote the consumption of alternative local proteins to poultry, as well as the importation of canned protein items to meet the demand for meat. In the meantime, $50 million is being made immediately available to assist local poultry farmers. The funds are being provided by the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, and will go towards the purchase of feed, chicks, and medication.
We have heard the complaints of our farmers regarding the increased prices in fertilizers and the inability to secure baby chicks, among other things. And it is for this reason that I'm taking steps to immediately assist our farmers and provide well-needed relief in these most challenging times.
The Agriculture Minister says measures will be announced shortly to address the challenge with fertilizer. As government expands the zones of special operation, ZOSO, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says efforts to recruit new police officers will be ramped up this year. With 7 ZOSOs in operation across the island and another 25 communities qualifying for the security measure, Minister Chang says boots are needed on the ground, especially during the clear phase of the operation.
Jamaica does not have the human or capital resource and competence to carry out this type of operation in all of them at the same time, if we are to maintain the quality and integrity of the zone of special operation.
Minister Chang says the aim is to have a net gain of 900 to 1,000 new recruits per year until the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, reaches its full requirement of 14,000 officers. The police force is operating with between 10 to 12,000 members because of resignations, migration, and retirement. COVID-19 had stalled the recruitment process, but the National Security Minister assures that by the end of March this year, 1,250 new recruits will be added to the force, with more during the remainder of the year.
And in providing that body with requisite additional tools in terms of infrastructure and supporting transportation, communication, tele-equipment, we know we'll have significant impact on crime and violence in the community. You'll have more men to staff the specialized areas, from investigation and intelligence into straight geographical policing, where the community safety and safety branch can be operated.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced that the ongoing COVID-19 containment measures will continue unchanged until the morning of February 11. In Parliament Tuesday, he said the nightly curfew will remain in place between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. the following day. All other COVID-19 management measures will continue for the 2-week period.
I hear the narrative, Madam Speaker, that the government has given up and abandoned COVID-19 management measures. That is absolutely not the case. All the measures, the curfew, the restrictions on gatherings, the requirements to wear masks, particularly indoors, to maintain physical distance, all remain in place. We have not, however, further tightened measures, as we know that would have had significant adverse impact on our economy and the livelihoods of Jamaicans who are already struggling.
Mr. Holness says reports from the Ministry of Health and Wellness indicate that while the daily infection rates remain high, the average number of confirmed cases week on week is trending downwards. Hospitalization rates are also declining and are at a much lower rate than the third wave of COVID-19 infections experienced last August. The clinical summary for January 25 showed 527 new confirmed coronavirus cases and 6 deaths. The local government elections that were postponed until February 27 this year will be further delayed until 2023. The postponement was agreed by the House of Representatives Tuesday, following Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie tabling a bill seeking its delay. Minister McKenzie says the decision to defer going to the polls is in line with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which is currently in its 4th wave. According to the minister, more Jamaicans are now hospitalized than at the end of 2020, and the positivity rate is at 48%.
It is in that context, Madam Speaker, that the government has taken into consideration the existing health situation. With this new strain, Madam Speaker, the government believes that to hold an election within this period, that it would put the country at a greater risk with the 4th wave of COVID-19. It is at the forefront of the government's thinking, Madam Speaker, that we must do everything to protect the population.
The minister also gave the assurance that the government is still committed to having the next local government elections in the shortest workable time. Local government elections were last held in November 2016 and were due to be held in November 2020, but were postponed until February 2022. And finally, Hanover's parish capital of Lucy is to benefit from beautification exercises under the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development's Paint the City, Paint the Town project. The project forms part of government's plan to further develop rural Jamaica and will be executed over a 3-year period. During a recent tour of the town, Portfolio Minister Desmond McKenzie said Hanover was among 5 parishes chosen for the project. He said the towns and districts in the selected parishes would benefit from community employment, infrastructure, and other improvements.
Lucy will entail painting of the transportation centre, painting of the stalls in the market, painting the exterior of the market, painting the walls. They are going to be engaging private businesses. We're going to be painting the police station, the post office.
The minister says the project will also include building a recreational park in front of the Hanover Municipal Corporation building and renovating that area. Minister McKenzie is scheduled to officially launch the project for Lucy and Hopewell in Hanover on Wednesday, February 16. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
What are you full of our roots and culture? That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up.
Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence.
I only way to celebrating it. They say the people them you know them come here, you know. But you see when our people decide say the other people them free paper burn up, them say if it's war, start it whatever. We all collect medal panta fight, you know. Medal. Amount of tongue we did them,
The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report.
I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app to know what it pre.
Why pre?
Activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration.
If you don't know the app to get the updates then.
Workplaces are often made up of dynamic and varying personalities, which means that sometimes conflicts can arise. How can you effectively mediate conflicts in the workplace?
This sort of conflict is unhealthy for productivity in the workplace. You guys can't continue like this.
And she come in the morning and I'm trying to show her and she just act like idiot.
Alright, so hear what? I have a video from the Dispute Resolution Foundation that I think you guys need to watch. Come with me.
A conflict is at its most fundamental, a disagreement. Workplace conflict has a number of significant impacts. There's a cost to conflict at the workplace. So someone seeing a dispute between two employees or between employees and the employer being played out in public might be inconvenienced by what is happening, but they're unaware of what's the cost. There are all kinds of costs, from personal costs, health costs, reputational costs, to financial costs. So conflict can impact somebody at the workplace. It can impact the production and productivity of the business. If you think of it, any workplace could find that between a supervisor or just between two employees, there could be an unresolved conflict and it affects how they work. So if we have to work in a way that says your work is affecting mine and vice versa, and we're not getting along, then over time what will happen is that we tend not to be very productive because we're not communicating with each other, we're not responding, we're not engaged. So it affects the organization's relationship internally, it affects the dynamics of that, it affects productivity, it affects communication, it affects a number of things. So simple things like management decisions may be impacted by conflict at the workplace.
Mediation is very, very important in order to solve conflicts like these and to ensure that we have productivity.
Conflict resolution is a very broad term used to describe different approaches to try and manage conflict when conflict occurs. So mediation is just one of those processes, a very structured process in which a neutral third party who is trained helps disputing parties to come to a resolution of their dispute. Now, at the workplace, that will be helping them to negotiate. So they may be unable to negotiate by themselves, so they may get somebody who is external to each of them to help them to resolve that dispute, and that person would play the role of a mediator.
So guys, this is where I come in, to sit with you both and to discuss the issue further. But before we get to the meat of the matter, there is just one more point to note.
Now, in order to do that, the mediator has to have some very effective communication skills. So how does the mediator communicate? And communicate in a way that includes both verbal and non-verbal, but at the same time interpreting what is it that the verbal and non-verbal cues that are coming from the parties. What are those cues saying? So the mediator has to be very effective at communication. Now, helping the parties to communicate may be a part of the communication, the larger communication skills of the mediator. However, at a particular point in time, mediator has to help the parties to negotiate. So the mediator has to be au fait with what negotiation is about, how are the parties negotiating, and help them to be able to negotiate in a way that settles the dispute that they have.
Alright, so as you guys can see, conflict, it's nothing new. Today was probably the first for you guys, and it maybe won't be the last. But based on the video that you've just seen, you can now tell the true effect of what conflict can do within the organization. So you see, it's very important for you to practice mediation and proper conflict resolutions. Now, having seen and heard all of that, what really happened today?
All children deserve positive parenting. Why not pamper us? Be patient with us. Make time to teach us and, of course, play with us. Celebrate milestones with us and don't forget to be our #1 supporter. Do all these things and practice positive parenting today.
Some environments and family structures force children into an experience of crime, and its impact can be quite staining. The Justice Ministry recognizes this and continues to foster life-changing solutions. Its latest initiative involves using technology to launch an animation bundle to reach children in those situations. Here are the details.
Children sometimes see too much. At other times, they hear too much. And many of them feel too much. There are situations where children become victims of crimes, seeing, hearing, and feeling too much of its effect. The hurt and trauma can linger without the proper intervention strategies. This is where government's Victim Services Division comes in. The VSD is having a far-reaching and sweeping impact as it provides help to this vulnerable group.
The Victim Services Division is that division within the Ministry of Justice, which is responsible for coordinating the ministry's support base for victims of crime. Anyone can become a victim of a crime. Victims of crime are often persons who suffer just about any crime you imagine. There are sexual crimes, small children, there is robbery, there is murder, wherein the primary victim, though, has deceased. The secondary victim, which is the family members, are there for the support that we give. We recognize that our victim population was getting younger. Whilst we still would have to communicate with them some of the complex concepts that are a part of the therapeutic process. Hence, we needed to find a medium that will allow for us to use their type of language, colors and sounds and movement.
Well, that medium the ministry found was the use of an animation bundle. It is comprised of 8 short films that offer therapeutic intervention and lessons to children who are victims of crime.
Your daughter was almost abducted today, but she was smart. She ran away. However, there is more she could have done. Walking with headphones on is a dangerous habit. You must be alert. Pay attention to your surroundings and the dangers around you.
Our animation strategy involves the creation of a character called Justy. And Justy represents all that is good and right about what should be done when a child is faced with a difficulty. A child seeing the animation immediately will be able to interact. They are short animation films, so the attention span of the child is not hampered in any way. And our intent is not just for them to watch Justy, but to become and to embody the teachings, the values of Justy in order to help other children.
I have not left the house in over 3 weeks. I came here to work as a helper, and now he tells me that I'm going to work at a nightclub.
Put these on and get ready. We're leaving for the nightclub in half an hour.
Anyone can be trafficked. It does not matter your age, gender, or race.
We also ensure that we would have elected to choose specific topics which were current and will remain current. Abduction is a reality. The matter of being bullied is a reality. Human trafficked is another reality, and among others. There are 8 animation films. And these are current, we have seen over time. We have had the opportunity to have children literally vet the animations, and we are very comfortable that they have the content that will reflect concerns that children would want to share with their friends.
But why was the Victim Services Division so sure that these animated videos would have or will even continue to pull the required effect?
The process of developing an intervention involves doing an assessment. We would have had the benefit of, over the last 20 years, 200,000 victims that we would have been able to assess. We would have had clear understanding of what needs to be done to provide support for the victims of crime, hence the program VSD. What we did was to use that 20 years of experience. We have a cadre of trained social workers, psychologists, various levels of competencies to work with children. And we have just managed to package this entire expertise into 8 animations. I am absolutely confident that they have what it takes to make a difference.
So even in all the challenges, the Victim Services Division is working to provide psychosocial support for victims of crime. The division is committing its unit to the advancement of victim rights, including those of our children. And your role can be as simple as speaking up.
We've seen that technology helps, but like all things, or perhaps most things, its use can result in just the opposite. Let's take, for instance, how the growth of the tech industries has also led to the growth of cybercrimes right across the globe. But if that's your situation, or the situation of someone you know, here are some ways you can protect yourself from cybercrime.
Cybersecurity trends, though ever-changing, are a constant in today's society, even more so due to the increased usage of technology to attend school, conduct meetings, carry out work tasks, and basic day-to-day necessities.
There are a lot of trends out there, but as far as the online space, phishing is one of the enduring challenges out there, and the trend these days is to actually utilize COVID-19 resource sites as a platform from which to launch these attacks. They look very much like the official sites for a lot of these companies, and if you're really not wary, you will actually not realize that there are subtle changes such as misspellings, such as a graphic that is not where it should be.
So phishing, what really is it? According to our research, it is a type of social engineering attack often used to steal your user data, including login credentials and credit card numbers. As Lieutenant Colonel Sterling just explained, the hackers can replicate a trusted website. They can even trick you into opening malicious emails and messages. Once you do this, by clicking the link attached, you could very well be giving the hackers access to your private information, so be careful.
Additionally, we've seen an uptick in ransomware, and this is where this usually starts as part of a phishing campaign, and when you have fallen victim, the end result is that the attacker gains access to either your device or your network, and they encrypt your files and ask for ransom. But we're also seeing an increase in cryptojacking. This is where hackers will actually steal your cryptocurrencies and they will take them to exchanges and cash out. So as Jamaicans become more adept at buying cryptocurrency and supporting our own digital currency issued by the central bank, they have to be more wary of some of the pitfalls of cryptojacking online. Now, we have seen also a good trends where the use of HTTPS for web-facing resources has increased by about 174% within the region. We have also seen a downward trend in malware infections because more persons are installing antivirus and anti-malware software and are generally becoming more responsible in their use. The need for security, if you really measure it, is costly, but the existence of a lack of security can be even more costly. Now, for the individual, there are free apps within the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store that you can use to help to secure your devices. And sometimes for a nominal cost, there are some that you can also use that will do a better job. Now, what works for you is really going to be up to what you do online and the devices that you have. But the risk of not having any protection at all is one that cannot necessarily have a dollar value placed to it. If your device gets encrypted by ransomware, what is the cost of it? Do you have backups? So that's another thing that you need to do, to back up your device, not just the settings, but also your data on the device. It is very easy to get pirated software or so-called free software from some download sites and torrents, but usually they come with unwelcome and hidden residents that will take over your devices and will sometimes cause you grief. So while it does have a cost attached to it, you have to do the cost-benefit analysis. What is the cost of not having security versus having security? And I can almost assure you that when you really do it, the cost of security will work out way cheaper than not having security.
Much of today's discussion has been centered on the ideas of conflict resolution strategies and technology as a vehicle for solving problems, as we move to help make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. We continue that conversation in today's Hear This, pairing the two main topics and showing you some of the ways technology is solving conflicts. Number one, anonymous polling software. Many companies have bought into the idea of allowing staff members to anonymously complete polls online. Here, company leaders ask questions or they lead discussions and permit individuals to respond anonymously through a clicker or smartphone. The software instantly gives tallies of the responses, and this gives employees a voice. Number two, satellite imagery and human rights. Human rights remains a big topic across the world and stirs conflict in many nations. However, data from satellites can locate, measure, and draw attention to human rights violations across the world. I'm sure there are many other ways in which technology is helping to solve some conflicts, whether in the offices or homes. If you can think of others, drop your comments on any of our social media pages. We look forward to engaging in that conversation with you. Thanks for sticking through the Jamaica Magazine journey. A refresher of yesterday's journey and others can be had through our YouTube channel. Also, visit our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more information. We're closing out the show, but with all that we've seen and heard today, I want to leave you with these words from Max Lucado. Conflict is inevitable, but combat is optional. What will your response be? From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.